Good morning. Sorry, I'm about 4 minutes late to this, but I did start my live story earlier. Gotta wait for the guest. Should be here in the next 2-3 minutes. It's been pretty good actually doing all these live sessions. It was getting boring doing it on my own, but now it's like I've got guests coming in from all sectors of the industry. It'd be property, it'd be architecture, it'd be accountancy, it'd be a magician, it'd be a pro wrestler turned entrepreneur, beauty. I do want to get on doctors. I do want to get on politicians if I can. A few celebrities would be great. So it's good to speak to people from all experiences within their business, within their life, and to share all that knowledge with the viewers that are there. So let's hope and see, let's hope and wait that I can do something today which is more beneficial in the property investment sector, the property development sector. So let's see how it goes. The rugby property guy, where are you based, if I may know? And I think I saw your profile yesterday. So were you a rugby player first, like a professional, and then you turned into a property investor? How did your journey come about? That'd be great to know. I mean, if I can do a live session with yourself one day, that'd be great. David Junto, hope all's well. Yes, I cannot wait to get my hat, which promotes my brand. And actually, I've ordered some polo shirts as well for the company BTH, so just waiting for them to come in. And that'd be great, actually, having my own branded clothes so that people actually see me and see the brand, so that attracts both ways. I think I learned that from Grant Cardone, because he doesn't wear any branded apparel. He's totally wearing his own stuff, which is great. So far this year, it's been one. I had two in the pipeline before lockdown, which sort of fell through, and then currently now I'm working on 3 other property deals. So let's see how it goes. Sorry, just coming back to you, the rugby property guy. Still playing professional rugby, but transitioning into full-time property. Slowly building my portfolio and then going into development when I retire. That's good. I mean, you need to do the development before you retire, I guess. Because development is a hell lot harder than... I thought brokering was harder, but when it comes to development, yeah, I mean, you're dealing with all sorts of people. So we've got Mike Aspinall here. Send a request.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Must apologise for my lateness.
No, not at all.
Mate,
not at all.
Everyone flying into our office, and there's about 5 layers of security beeping at me, and I'm like, oh God, I can't start a live whilst all this is going on. So, all good though. We made it.
Good stuff. How are you doing? Are you keeping well?
Very good, mate. Very good.
Keeping safe?
All things considered, yeah, I can't complain.
Okay. And where are you based, Mike, if I may ask?
We're in Leeds.
Okay.
So grew up in Leeds, and our head office is in Leeds. So we're currently sitting just on the outskirts of the city centre.
How's lockdown up there?
Well, the weather has been fortuitous. So that's it's sort of kept spirits high. To be honest, I think the main hospitals in Leeds are not particularly busy, which is great. You know, good news. So yeah, we've survived.
Have you had many cases up there?
I don't think it's been particularly bad now, and
not as bad as London.
No. The Harrogate they've opened, which is sort of 10 miles north of Leeds. They've opened the Nightingale Hospital, which was a convention centre, and they've filled that with beds, and I think it's empty. So
same here. Excel's empty.
Pretty positive, I suppose. So
yeah,
let's wait and see what the big guy has to say on Sunday.
Yeah, on Sunday. Yeah, everyone's waiting for that. So I mean, I don't know how it's going to affect the property sector as such, but let's see. I've sort of had mixed feelings from people in this week alone, like inquiries coming in, but it's still slow. So let's see how it goes. But yes, so we're here today live with yourself, and I wanted to speak to you regarding what you do in terms of property. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself as to who you are and what you do?
Sure. So, you know, Mike Aspinall, started in the property sector 5.5 years ago now. So, you know, still young, although I don't look it in that respect. And I started investing 5.5 years ago with my wife, Hannah Aspinall, who you'll probably find on the similar links. You know, we invested for a couple of years ourselves, pretty heavily into sort of HMO in our local vicinities, Leeds and surrounding areas. And then I left work, which at the time was rugby. I was a professional rugby coach, having had my playing days. And so, yeah, I left work, and then over the last sort of 3.5 years now, we've developed a group of trading businesses as well, which is hence the office space. Okay. So we have a group of trading companies called Northern Property Partners Group, which source investment properties, everything from sort of small northern, you know, 50 grand buy-to-lets through HMOs, and now into some quite substantial developments. Yeah.
Just to start off that journey that you had, I mean, did you always think? I mean, you said you were playing rugby and you were coaching for rugby. Did you always think at that time that you're going to get into property, or the transition happened because you had the funds and you thought that the best place to keep it safe is property?
I wish that were the case, mate.
Okay.
For us, it was a transition born from motivation of having children, actually, to be brutally honest. Hannah was very successful in her career. She was in medical sales in devices. You know, she was making good corporate money. To be honest, I wasn't making great money, but I was doing exactly what I loved and always had done. So for me, I hadn't really sort of worked. Been fortunate enough to play rugby and then coach it since I was 18 years old. So, but we.
So did you play? I just want to talk about your rugby career. Did you play for the county, or did you actually play for England as well?
No, so I represented the county like all the way through age groups. I represented England as a schoolboy. When I was 18, I grew up in Leeds. When I was 18 years old, I signed for Saracens, which is North London club in the Premiership. So I moved down there for rugby, spent 3 years down there, and then moved back up to Leeds. Played for Leeds for 2 or 3 seasons, and then ended up coaching Leeds and player coaching for Harrogate, and spent the rest of my career at coaching Harrogate.
And how long did that rugby career sort of last?
Well, I left rugby officially 3 years ago, 3.5 years ago, probably closing in on 4 years now.
So since the age of what, 10, 12?
So from 18. From 18. I mean, professionally, I played from when I was 18.
Okay.
I started rugby, God knows, I mean, probably about 6 years old.
I mean, I've seen rugby, a few clips on TV. But I mean, I know that in rugby, sort of, you throw the ball backwards.
That's right.
And the NFL, you throw the ball forwards. Yeah. That's the only thing I know about it.
Yeah, but they get to wear lots of pads, and we just smash our bodies to pieces for
literally. I mean, one of the rules I was told in boxing and rugby is you can never have a straight nose.
Oh no, I mean, I've come out I've come out all right. I look about 45, but I'm actually only 37.
So when you were playing rugby, what I want to know is, when you finished it, what is the one thing you loved about it, and what is the one thing you hated about it, apart from getting hurt?
To be honest, I loved most things about it. It was my passion.
Okay.
The end of my career, as I said, spent 8 years as director of rugby at Harrogate, and towards the end of that, I wasn't playing; I was just coaching. And so, what I missed about it the most at the end was actually the psychology of coaching people, and having that team of people and having that camaraderie. The friendships forged through adversity, which it is weekly, adversity in professional sport all around. I think team sports is something
It must
really
be
special.
pretty tough, right? You've got to get the morale up of your players constantly, off pitch, on pitch, in the dressing room. Okay, it's one thing that the coach can go out and get the morale up, but who gets the morale of the coach up? When he's down.
For sure. I mean, you're the top of the ladder in that respect, but it's exactly the same as, being a CEO or MD, and, nobody's overly reviewing you until it's time to give you the chop because you haven't performed. But yeah, no, I mean, for me, there was just an enormous amount of lessons learned for what we do now, or certainly what we do from a trading point of view. So the only thing I didn't like about rugby, and again, it's forged the way I've gone about the rest of my life, is I spent 2 years as an assistant coach in a Premiership clubs, with some very, very respected people. But if I'm brutally honest, I actually struggled to sort of manage up. I struggled to be able to impose myself enough on those environments, not being in charge, and actually struggled managing up to those people who were in charge. And I felt that, I'd look at that and review it honestly as something that I probably failed at, but also forged my philosophy about what I want to be involved with going forward. And, I like I'd like to think of myself as a pretty good leader, and I take everyone's opinion on. I like to create a good team environment, but we all want to, in the entrepreneurial world, we want to live and die by our own swords, don't we? We want to make our decisions, and if they're not great decisions, then we'll live with that.
Yeah, risk it, right? Risk it and see what happens. Yeah. That's what entrepreneurs, that's what businessmen are all about. Question. Slightly off track, but because you've been a manager, why do managers get sacked when it's the player's fault in every team?
No, that's what. Mate, great question, and I think there's huge lessons in that. So ultimately, is it the player's fault? I think, again, to be successful here, regardless, in my opinion, regardless of the profession, the situation, you've got to take ultimate responsibility. Now, if you're CEO, MD, head coach, director of rugby, if you're in these positions, the first thing you have to do is take responsibility for the performance. Okay. Good or bad. And unfortunately, in those roles, when you're performing well, you'll go in the press and you'll credit the players. And when you're performing badly, the first 24 hours is reviewing your own process. Why did that happen? What did we do during this week as a coaching team? That enabled that performance. Because you can only control what you can control. And the players are very much in your sphere of influence, but you can't control their actions on the park.
Exactly. But, I mean, that's what I'm saying. So if they're in the park.
You're exactly right, mate. But the point is, it's what I think is, what is the useful belief? The useful belief for you is that you can influence them, and you've got to review your own influence. It's a balance, because you can't be a crutch for the players. Like, you can't be a crutch for your staff if they're not doing a good job. But my point is this: like, you review your own performance first, review it very critically, and get better, and then it is your job to review the players' performance.
Have you ever been in that circumstance, like, where it may have been the player's fault, but ultimately it's the manager to blame? So have you ever been in that limelight?
I've been in that situation plenty of times. I mean, any job I've ever been sacked from was when I was an assistant. And as I said, I found that quite difficult, because you can't. I found it very difficult to review myself first when I wasn't given the ability to actually impose myself on the environment.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, it was something that we implemented when I was director of rugby. Is the first review process would be of ourselves as a coaching staff. You know, this was the performance, this was the outcome. What did we do during the week, and can we see any areas where maybe that, you know, maybe we didn't quite get that right, or this and the other. As long as you're reviewing yourself first, for me in life, then it gives you the ability to point the finger elsewhere and to try and review other people. Because it's never about blame. It's about trying to find out how you move forwards from that and improve things.
Absolutely. But the point is that sometimes, I've seen this in football, right? I don't follow it. I don't follow it as much as I did before. Yeah. But because you're possibly the only sports person that I've spoken to so far on the live sessions, that's why I'm asking you these questions, is because when it comes to week after week of underperforming, coaches get the stick, right? Yeah. It's always the case. And then at the end of maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks of underperforming, they're sacked. But do you base your coaching on every team that you are playing at that week? Is that how it is?
Well, first of all, I think as far as people getting sacked, that's down to the sort of the board and the chairs there. Like you've got to give these people a time to have influence on the team. Now, so
I mean, I support Chelsea till this day. I support Chelsea, and I've seen the amount of stuff that has gone on at Chelsea since Mourinho was there. You know, sure. and no one's ever got the chance to influence the team like Manchester United or Arsenal. These are the two biggest examples of my time. You know,
so it's patience in managing expectations from the board. You've got to give people enough time to influence the team, bring their philosophies and their cultures and embed those, and then. You know, we'll be accountable for performance. And it's exactly the same from a coaching point of view. So you go into a new team. Personally, if I was going to a new business or a new team, you'd want to understand what they do well, understand what their culture is, and then impress, you know, influence and evolve.
And did you always get that time when you were a head coach? Did you get that time from
I did, to be honest. I was fortunate in that, you know, we had a patient board, and we did very well. So, you know, there was that as well.
That's great.
So, but yeah.
So now
it's a good sports live cast, this one.
I mean, I've done these live casts I did one 2 days ago with a wrestler all the way from Houston. I did one with a magician from Spain. You know, it's not just, I don't want to just talk about property the whole time. You know, you got to make it a bit more interesting for people to. Not everyone on this view, whoever is viewing now and whoever is going to view in 24 hours is going to be interested in property. They might be interested in something to know about sports. So, you know, a different thing. So that's why I keep it sort of. Yeah, the motive is property. Yes, and I'm going to get to that because you are a property developer, you are a property investor, and I want to know the transition and the steps that you took forward from rugby to property, so that a lot of people can see this. Maybe someone in the young sports you know, environment right now who's playing and sort of has that motivation that, okay, one day I want to become a property entrepreneur. So let's see.
We're contacted by people like that on a quite a regular basis, which is great. You know, obviously.
I mean, for someone to take interviews.
No, just by literally, you know, a lot of rugby players specifically who are still playing, you know, making some good money now. It's quite a short career.
Yeah. How long is a career of a rugby player?
Very, very short. I mean, realistically, if you do 12 years, you know, 14 years, you've done very well.
Okay.
Very well.
Compared to a football player?
I would think that football probably extends a little bit further on both ends of the career.
Okay.
But the interesting thing, obviously, is a lot more money in football. With rugby, the period of time that you're actually making any serious money within that 14-year career, for most people, is very short.
Well, 5 years.
If that, yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. Because you'll be brought through, again, there are always exceptions, and you've got some outstanding young talent like Owen Farrell, George Ford, boys make good money for a long period of time. But for a lot of people, it's
But
making
then
your
you
way.
gotta be absolutely on point, game
really,
in, game out.
Yeah, and sort of an exception to the rule, even within sort of Premiership rugby and international rugby. So you don't do it for the money. Certainly not.
I mean,
anyway.
rugby for sure. Rugby for sure. I know people don't do it for the money because there's more to it than There's health, there's physical health, there's the body, but it does make you tough, and I'm sure it makes you tough in physical strength and mental strength. Not something what football would kind of do to you. So now let's talk about your transition. Like you mentioned that you were playing rugby and then you moved onto property investment. What sort of made you do that? Why property and why not something else?
Initially, as I said, it was the motivation of our firstborn. Okay. My daughter's now 6.5 years old. And it was that motivation to just create more choice in life. Okay. Having her kind of changed my my mindset and what I wanted to be able to deliver for her rather than myself and her future. And so that started this sort of journey. Is that me or is that you? Better? I feel like somebody else has jumped on the line there. No. Let me see if I can. You can't hear me at all.
Yeah, we go. I can hear you now, Mike.
Yeah.
Are you? Yep. Sorry, I don't know what happened there.
No idea what that was. Yeah, so that was the motivation. Property as the vehicle. I think we're all probably aware that it's right up there with the best investment vehicles. Yep. But we were fortunate enough. We had £30,000 of capital. We genuinely started with next to nothing. We had an idea to invest that in the best way that we could in a property. Okay. In all honesty, save like absolute buggery and then go and do it again. That was the plan.
So what was the first property that you went for?
Well, I will say I won't sort of give too much credit to any property education company, but we ended up spending 25 grand of that on property education. So we started with next to nothing.
Something like the Samuel Leeds course.
Something like it wasn't that. I don't quite buy that much hype, but yeah. No, well, yeah. It was Tigrant Education at the time. It's changed names a few times, and it's a very interesting industry.
And they were UK based. The property.
They're UK based, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, but I think it was for us. You're going back best part of 6 years.
So you had 30 grand.
Yeah.
And out of that 30 grand, you gave 25 grand to a property education company.
Yeah.
Can I ask, why didn't you go to a nice, reputable estate agent? He would have given you that advice for free.
So lesson number one for me is, I only take advice in property from people who are where I want to be, and I don't want to be an estate agent.
Gotcha. So you went to a property investor to get that advice.
Yeah.
But didn't you have any friends, family within your circle?
Yeah. And so that was the thing for us, sort of specifically. We had absolutely zero network in property. Knew nothing, literally.
And at that point, I'm sure you did not have a social media profile.
I was just going to say, very different. I'm just turning some lights on here.
Yeah.
Very different to the world we're in today, with the amount of content that you can get your hands on for free. Yeah. If I'm honest, I probably wouldn't spend that amount of money in that way now. But as I say, very, very, very different. It's maybe hard to realise, but going back 6 years, it just just wasn't the same sort of access to material and information, really.
It's a good point that you've touched base on this. I've never, I mean, being a property broker, I've never sort of gone to a property training course. And when it comes to property investment, I sort of know what I'm kind of doing and going to do. But as you've been to a property course, did you ever get a one-to-one with that person?
So the stuff we did involved a 3-day mentorship. So it involved a lot of training, big long weekends of training on specific strategies.
And you went with your wife to the training course, or you went alone?
No, I went with my wife. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I had to leave a few of them to go and play rugby. It was a real waste of money, but such is life. And so it involved a 3-day mentorship.
Okay.
During that, probably less said about that the better, to be honest with you. But there we go.
And these were consecutive days or consecutive weekends?
They weren't consecutive weekends. The weekends were spread out over a couple of years.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, this is not a good reason to do anything like that. But I was saying to a friend yesterday, the best thing about that education for us was the fact that we spent 25 grand on it. Now that seems like the stupidest thing that anybody's ever going to say, but I'll tell you what, you don't spend that sort of money on your education and not get out of bed. And I was that sort of person. Me and my missus are quite different. We spent the money and she said, for God's sake, don't tell anyone. And I went around telling everybody because I wanted people to say you're an idiot. I wanted people to say, like, what is asked be done, like Jesus. And I wanted to prove them wrong.
So are you saying that you don't need a property course to become a property investor?
I don't think you need it. We're all starting from different positions.
Indeed.
I always say you've got, time, the time that you can invest, the cash that you can invest, and your knowledge. And if I'm brutally honest, we had okay periods of time. I was worked for myself, if you will. I was in charge of the environment, so we were pretty good. My missus probably won't mind me now. She's not been employed for a long, long time. She was very good at the job and get it done in about half the time she needed to. She was outcome orientated, should we say?
Yeah.
So we had a little bit of time. We also had a daughter, so it wasn't that easy. We had zero knowledge and very little cash, even with £30,000 to get started and try and create something.
So you spend that 25 grand. Now you're left with 5 grand. Obviously, you spend that 5 grand on travel, hotel.
Went straight into the first deal.
Oh, all of that 5 grand went to the first deal. And this was how long after that you invested in the property since the course that you took?
Since the course, I reckon it was, I can't remember exactly, probably 6 months.
6
tops.
months.
In fact, I think it was less. We were quite quick, maybe even 3.
And you did grab some points of that education that you took into investing in property.
Yeah, absolutely. It gave us the knowledge. It absolutely gave us the knowledge that we needed to take action. I'm one of those guys, mate, that I like to pick up some ideas. Tony Robbins says there are guys that want to study the roots and spend a long time studying that, and there are other people that just want to pick the fruit. And I'm that guy. Like, give me some information, give it to me in layman's terms, give it to me simple, make it usable, and I'll go do it. And in this game, you only learn from the doing, but everybody needs enough education to go and take action.
Absolutely.
And so that was it for us.
And then transitioning that, so what was your first property that you took on? Was it a buy-to-let? Was it a HMO? Was it just a property that you bought and you converted that? I mean, what was your first project?
Yeah, we went straight into HMO against the training.
So they actually told you don't go for an HMO?
No, very, very wisely, in my belief, that they would coach you to start with buy-to-let. Small entry, not particularly risky, if you will, and sort of learn the ropes.
And were they teaching you the whole of the UK market, or no? It was a specific market that they were teaching you about?
It certainly wasn't a specific market. It was probably more based on northern properties.
Okay.
Yeah, and the ability to buy cheap. But yeah, they'd say to sort of build it through. But look, we're based, again, I come back to, time, experience and cash.
Yep.
From a time point of view, we were both working full time, although we had some degree of flexibility. We had at the time, a 6-month, 1-year-old daughter.
Yep.
So we weren't going to go traveling all over the place. We live in Leeds. Leeds is a great area for property.
Yep.
It's an up and coming city, but it's not easy to buy to let at a very, very cheap
Discounted price. Yeah.
And starting with next to no capital, sort of turn that around. But we did see an opportunity in sort of a young professional market of HMOs that maybe wasn't really tapped up at the time. Leeds' HMO market at the time was student.
Okay.
And that's what, if anybody talks about HMO in Leeds, it would have been in that respect. So what we did was take some calculated risks, do our market research, and opened up what we've been doing for a long time now, which is professional HMOs in a growing city.
And how many rooms did you make out of that first one?
The first one was 6.
6 rooms. Wow.
Yeah.
And how much did you pay for that in total?
So the rough figures, because we're going back quite a bit now, is I've got 96 grand in my head, I think.
Okay.
And that
was buying the property, refurbishing it.
No, that was the
just
purchase.
Buying the property.
That was the purchase.
Okay.
Yeah. The refurb story on that first one was that I remember getting a quote done. I can't remember what the team were called, and I was introduced to the company who were legit outfit, proper construction company.
Yep.
They came last and they did the plan, they did a quote, and they quoted me about £60,000, and I was just I can get that done for half that, and so I took on the project management of the whole thing myself. Spent 6 months, doing the refurbishment, which
you did it yourself.
Yeah, I did it all. I didn't actually do the practical work myself, but I subcontracted the people and brought them all in.
You managed the whole site yourself.
Managed the process. Yeah.
So you were there from 9 to 5 every single day.
No, far from it. But I was there every day, okay. Checking in and trying to make it work. 6 months, hey, great experience, but not the great.
But you learned.
But
like you mentioned, you learned from the roots, right? You saw the process that goes into it. Yeah. So I just want to go through this with you. So you had $5,000.
Guess how much it cost me to get done?
You said half that, so I'll take a guess. 30K?
No, 65,000. They were right.
No way.
But that's learning, isn't it?
Oh, well, at least you learned it. You learned that experience from your hand.
Yeah.
So you had $5,000. Where did you get the remaining? What was it? You said 96, right?
A lot.
91. Yeah. Where did you get 91 from? And how did you get it? And was it easy to get it?
No, it wasn't easy. But we did some we privately loaned the rest of the cash needed. So we actually bought the property on a bridging loan.
Okay.
And then paid for the refurbishment with the rest of the cash that we borrowed. So we borrowed cash on the privately, using that capital to go into the deal and deal with the refurb. We paid the investor 10% on his money, rolled up at the end of the deal. So we bridged into it, spent the cash, refurbed it, tenanted the property, refinanced and managed. And I hate it because it kind of feels like I'm selling a Samuel Leeds course, but we managed to pull all our capital back out of it, albeit we did it at 85%. Because we were where we were. We had very little capital. We would have had to deal with money left in as best we could. But the opportunity to pull all that cash back out.
But as you mentioned, like you learned, right? You learned from that, and then did that open up the vision that if I can do this, I can do another 20 or another 50.
It basically was the evidence, if you will, for us to say, hey, look, it works. We then had £30,000-40,000 worth of capital invested, if you will, or equity created in a property, which was cash flowing £1,000 a month. So it was fantastic evidence for us that this was very possible.
And at this time, you had your jobs as well, or no? You had your jobs, and you were doing this on the So the property investment thing was sort of a side business at that point.
Absolutely. It at that time it was still, let's do this. We were very driven people. We are naturally, and let's do this and let's grow something for ourselves. It wasn't by no means did not have the vision of where we are, 5.5 years later at that stage. But it certainly, success in that first property certainly helped us believe that it was all very possible, and gave us the motivation to push on and keep learning and keep growing.
Absolutely. When you bought this first property, the reason I'm still at that first property, because it's always the first property that people are stuck with, and that's the hurdle, and that's what I want you. That's why I'm asking you these questions. So when you bought the first property, how many agents did you go to, or how many properties did you see, and what was the success rate of you going out and seeing all these properties? And then you say, how many days did it take you that, okay, this is the one, I want to go for it?
It took a while. Like I said, it was probably sort of 3 to 6 months after the first course. That said, there would have been a lot of viewings in the meantime, a lot of conversations with agents, probably looking very amateur hour, with every agent we ever spoke to.
Yeah.
And also just refining our strategy, because we did go out there and try and do buy-to-let and try and find buy-to-let properties in our vicinity that we could make work, but we couldn't do it.
Do you think the HMO was the right choice?
Absolutely, for us. And again, it's for us at that time. It was about opportunity, and we thought we saw an opportunity, and we were right. And the deal probably went even better than we imagined, and that gave us confidence to push on. So there were in everything. You don't want to make it sound too glossy. The refurb was an absolute ball ache, excuse my French, and just it was a horrific time of my life. I now own a construction company. There's a reason for that. And
did that motivate you to build?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Listen, our to jump off, our early investing experiences shaped the MPP group now, because it's a tough sort of market to get done. It's tough to find good properties. It's even harder to get them delivered,
absolutely,
in a secure and safe manner, especially if you're working full time.
So you would say 6 months it took you to possibly speak to agents, see properties. All that process took you 6 months to kind of go for the first one, and okay, that's it, and we're going to start our work on this.
And it's that go for the first one, that I see a lot of people getting stuck with, and
absolutely,
really kind of
that is the stepping stone is always the key. So in effect, it took you 6 months to find your first property, and then another 6.
Oh, you there? You're back.
Sorry, I had a call. So it took you 6 months to buy the property, 6 months to finish the property. So in effect, a year till you could say that, okay, now I'm going to start getting some income on it. Tenant-wise, was it easy to find the tenants that you wanted? Students?
Yeah, he actually did very well. It wasn't students, so it was young professionals. The outside of the Leeds City Centre.
Okay.
It's funny going back. We went to the letting company, and they were unsure of the area. He said, "Oh, I'm not sure it'll work here." Great property, fantastic. Wow, looks lovely, but not sure it's going to work here.
Yeah.
And for us, that was the opportunity. If it was the obvious place, it would have been done already.
Exactly.
But we felt like we sort of foresaw the growth of Leeds as a city. It's an absolutely enormous employer.
Yeah.
And where areas are moving to, where not just, I'm from Leeds, so when we're investing in areas that we know very well, we're often biased historically of where it was when we were children, when we were growing up. And so we worked quite hard on ourselves to sort of look at actually where the opportunity potentially could be, not what it used to be, where it might be in the future. And so, we actually rented, I think that we rented the property within 2 weeks. So obviously six.
And the whole property was full. What was your return on that? 8%, 9%, 10%.
On what?
On the purchase. The ROI.
Well, we didn't have any money left in the deal, did we?
No, but what I'm saying is, you purchased the property for
On the gross yield.
Yeah, exactly.
If you will. Yeah, so we purchased property for, like, I think it was 96.
Yeah.
We obviously spent 65 grand in it. You know, I remember our mortgage was £200,000 at 85%, so that's a £170,000 check.
Okay.
Now all that went back out, you know, to our investors and their interest.
Yep.
The bridge and the rest of it. So we basically, from a gross yield point of view, you'd say.
Hello. Sorry, I lost you.
You got
there.
me? Sorry, you lost me.
Yeah.
Probably
You're mentioning
£2,400
your yield on that. Sorry.
Yeah, there's probably about £2,400 a month income. You can test my maths now. And my calculator's on my phone.
That's approx 11%.
Right.
Approx 11%.
Gross yield. Yeah.
I would say so. Yeah. That's not bad. And that was for, I mean, these tenancies that you were giving on HMOs, were they a yearly tenancy or no? It was like a roll on month on month.
So your standard tenancies, tenancies on a HMO are 6 months fixed, and then they move on to a rolling monthly contract after that.
Rolling monthly contract. And then what? Then after you did that, what was the next?
We did some more.
And how many did you do in that following year? Did you do one, or did you do 2, 3, 4?
No, we did two. We did two in the following year. So we were sort of into 3 when I left. It sort of came towards the end of that season for me, and I realised that we probably could. That was
possibly you were seeing the end of your rugby career kind of thing.
Yeah, well, it was a decision for me that I either needed to move geographically, so obviously club, but then move geographically, or go into property. And for me, as a person, without not being a husband and not being a father, then I would have coached rugby for my whole life. Without doubt. And there's a few people I've just noticed. There's a few people I've probably coached on this call, and they'd recognise that as me. But your motivations change. You know, that for me, that had become a very selfish dream. That to move my family around the country to coach rugby is not what the life I wanted for them. So I made the decision that to jump out, and it wasn't necessarily a forever thing.
Did they try to stop you? Did the club try to stop you?
Yeah, the club that I was with did try to stop me, but I'd never said, you know, I wasn't a diva. I wasn't throwing my toys out the pram. So once they tried a couple of times, I said, look, it's just not going to happen. The decision's been made. So let's get on with trying to find a new coach.
Good stuff. And then now that, so how long did it? So in effect, you were a property investor and a property developer at the same point, because you managed your own construction in the first place.
Yeah, if you will. I mean, I wouldn't really call that property development. I would say that's
refurbishing,
being a muppet and doing your own refurbishment. But for me, our journey was more of a case of, you know, investing that time in doing more. So the first year that we came out full time, we did another 2. Did we do 3 that year? And we also set up our trading side. And then as your systems get better, and you gain more experience, and you know what you're looking for, and you maybe find it a bit easier to find the funds, obviously you can build up from there. As we moved forwards, you know, we own sort of 5 trading companies now as well, so there's a lot of time being invested there along the way. But I think what was important for us is that we'd always look back on our portfolios, our base, you know, our security and our base of income. So, you know, obviously with the COVID happening and everything else, we're in a pretty comfortable position in that if all this had very negatively affected the rest of our businesses, that we would have been kind of just fine as a family.
I'm going to be touching that point of how it's possibly affecting, but not affecting you in a way. Just before I do that, when you moved on to your next HMOs, did you do the same thing again in terms of refurbishment? Did you manage your own subcontractors, or no, you gave it to a contractor and carry on?
No, so the second and third ones, yes. Although that process was refined a little bit.
Okay.
And there were slightly less heavy refurbishments. And then by the time we were on fifth and sixth sort of deals, we'd opened a construction company, albeit my business partner won't mind me saying it was the right shambles of a construction company at the beginning. I remember very well lugging dirt out of a basement that we were converting, shirts off and doing shuttles up and down the stairs, thinking, I'm out of rugby, but I haven't moved too far. So, my staff and people around me will tell you very well now the chances of that happening are very, very slim. But yeah, so
I mean, it's all a learning curve, right? If you don't do that, if you're not on the ground, if you're not looking at all the aspects of your company, then what's the point? I mean, you can hire everyone, but then you got to do it because anyone. In my thing is that if you don't know what you're doing, then anyone can take advantage of you if you were to possibly subcontract them, right?
Yeah, you've got to have a good handle on what's happening in all your businesses and on your sites, obviously. But the other thing for us is, as far as our property journey, in some respects, quite similar to our business journey, that we weren't starting with a huge amount of capital, saying, I'm going to set up this business. Here's the first year of trading capital that will get us off the floor. It was, we've got a vision, we've got an aspiration. I want you to come and join us in that, and let's make this work. Our construction company, for me in year one, made no money for me, and we just about managed to pay my business partner, who left his full-time project management role to set up the company up with me.
Wow.
And that.
So it was tough at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We turned over 2 mil last year, I think, in that company, and you can very easily forget where you started. Well, you can't. Other people can, but Paul Murray's my business partner.
You can't forget that, right? You've put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. Sure. It's been 11 years of me brokering for properties, but I still, till this day, remember my first deal and the amount of effort that went in there. But it's just now when I do multi-million pound deals, no one cares about them because you're doing the multi-million pound. But yet, you always remember that first tip of the iceberg. Exactly. Piece, isn't it? Yeah. Exactly. So now that you are a full-time property investor, owner of 5 companies, a property developer, a property construction company owner, what's next?
Is that not enough? Yeah.
And you've done rugby, so
Well, I'm not venturing back there at the moment, but it's about growth for us really here. You asked me what I missed about rugby, and I kind of said the psychology of coaching and the team. Well, we've developed a team around us, and we employ quite a few people, and I'm very passionate about those people, and I really want to be able to make a real difference in their lives. I want them to sort of 10, 15 years down the line to have been really grateful about the fact that they've been working with the MPP group. So do
they ever come to you and ask you, Mike, I want to get into property investment.
Can you help me? Absolutely. Yeah. And we support that, with our staff, we support that very much so. And I've said in no uncertain terms to them all, I do some consulting, some coaching on the side, and they if they have questions, they get it. They're obviously not going to be paying me money.
So do they ever come up to you and say that, okay, Mike, I'll do a JV with you. I've got like
Oh no, I
10,000
mean they're not. Jesus, I won't be JVing with 10 grand, mate. So that's not maybe 1 million, but not 10. So no, it's not that. But my aspirations for them, and I know, to be fair, everybody we've got through the door at the moment is that they want to grow, their pension pots, their portfolios, their security for their families, themselves, and we're obviously very supportive of that. So that's a part of business growth for me, is making sure that it's not just us that are okay. It's everyone else as well,
the whole team
that are around us. But also very, very ambitious. Hannah and myself and my business partners in a similar position, that we've got a 6.5-year-old, we've got a 2.5-year-old. We're not going anywhere. We can't make this money and go sit on the beach and live it up. Although it would have been nice to have done that for a few years first, if I'm brutally honest. Very jealous of some of my network that can go and do that. And again, I've just seen a few of them signing to this.
It's all right. I mean, everyone has a time that they can enjoy life. So I'm sure it will happen.
Look, I was saying to somebody last night, we don't have that. We've never had that period of time. At the same time, we get a huge amount of joy from the time and the freedom that we've created to spend with our kids. So you can't beat that. Last year we spent the whole of December in Australia visiting family and doing some business, because I've got some joint venture partners out there. So
so they're investing their funds with you in the UK.
Yeah, we have a company called MPP Homes together, who are doing a couple of conversion projects at the moment.
Okay. And you're open to doing joint ventures with other people? If someone came up to you and said, okay, Mike, here's $1 million, let's do something.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, I mean, it's something that, because the way our journey's gone, we're here, we're on the floor, we have the teams, in-house, we have the control over the deal and the build, and that's always been our model. But we still don't use our own capital going into deals. Okay. So yeah, we joint venture with people when they bring the funds and we bring the deal,
the land or the deal or whatever.
Yeah.
And in terms of, how are you coping with COVID?
Well,
company-wise, staff-wise, property-wise, income-wise.
So it's really interesting. I mean, I must admit, due to some of my business owner friends, some early conversations with them, I did see it coming, and we were making moves and having staff meetings about the potential things we would have to implement, and then the government came out with their furlough schemes and everything, which was fantastic. Yeah. So I was very clear to our teams that our motivation was to see everybody through the period of time, but to ensure that we had a trading group to come back to. Otherwise you're not helping anyone, are you?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it was good. We organised initially. All of our staff were on furlough originally. Some of them are back now, other than 3 directors within the group. And so from a construction point of view, we had a lot of sites shut quite early, because they're small sites and it's not easy to
manage the social distancing,
manage the distancing and all that sort of jazz. Obviously, we've had some material problems since then, and bags of plaster are still like gold dust up north. I'm not sure how it's looking like down south. But then, if I'm brutally honest, when we'd sort of put all those pictures in place, we realised we were going to be okay. We realised from a sourcing point of view, the company wasn't going to be doing any new business. That's okay. We were all right with that, and so we enjoyed. I don't even feel bad saying it. We enjoyed the first month of it. The weather was great up here.
Absolutely. I mean,
throughout the UK, abundance of time.
Absolutely.
With kids, and it was. You just tried to look at it from that point of view as what's the opportunity. And as a father, I thought, look, where I can really win in this next month is having that time. So
absolutely, family.
Played myself to death with Barbies and all that.
That's good to know. one
Somebody
final
just put
question.
50 quid a bag in London. Yeah, yeah.
Quick final question. What if you had to give an advice to someone starting on their property investment journey, what would that be?
I just think I said it earlier in the session. Just take advice from people who are where you want to be. I don't believe you necessarily need to go and spend the amount of money that we did, because it's a very different world we're living in. It's a very different, market with lots more information available. At the same time, that comes with a risk, because there's a huge amount, never more so than the last 2 months, of information out there. You've got to understand where that's coming from, and that's the risk in the new marketplace. Is there's a lot of people who'll give you a little bit of information and sell you some information, but
that is the reason I'm doing this, Mike.
Yeah, I know, which is hence I've jumped on and said, it's nice to be transparent and open and honest. So,
anyone viewing this who's about to start their property journey or within their property journey, this is why the reason to do these live sessions from people from all parts of the world, from all backgrounds of the world, just to share something that people pay for, knowledge that people like you paid for your property course, had today social media is such that had someone got the opportunity to watch this video, possibly take some information from that. And that's all free for an hour's worth of live session. You're getting that information. And that's one of the, if you want to call it an opportunity, that I have seen to empower people with that knowledge, where people spend all this time, all this money, all this effort, where they can sit down for an hour, watch this live session and possibly jump on it, take that inspiration from yourself. But it's been absolutely an amazing pleasure for me and an honor for you to come on board, and speak about yourself, speak about your career, and how you transition from being a sports player, coach, to a full-time property developer. But thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
For sharing all that information.
Well done for doing what you're doing, because it's. I think if everyone can get that nice, honest, straight from the horse's mouth information, then it's very much worthwhile.
Super. Thank you so much,
Take care. All the best to everyone. Cheers.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So that was Mike Aspinall from Northern Property Group. If you're looking for property investment advice, do go and follow and speak to Mike. As he said, he's ready to share the information that he's learned over the years in terms of property investment, property development. Do go and speak to him about it. And if you are looking to sell, rent, or buy or do a deal during these times, hit me up, BTH Properties. Thank you so much for tuning in to all those that did. And I've got another session in the next half an hour, again, regarding property investment. So come and listen to that as well. So thank you so much to all those that tuned in. Have a great, Thursday? I keep forgetting about my days. But thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.